Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm here together with Dr. Adrian Marsh, who is the co-inventor of coMra therapy, and he's part of the Radiant Life Technologies team. Hello Adrian, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. I'll be talking to Adrian today about the innovation which was recently introduced by Radiant Life Technologies, which is the so-called coMra Green. And I'll be asking questions to Adrian about what this innovation brings, what are the differences to the original coMra, and how that changes the coMra effect, if it changes it in any way. So Adrian, this is exciting times because as far as I've been working with coMra therapy since actually 2010, coMra therapy has been about 4 modalities, which are the infrared laser, magnetism, ultrasound, and color light. And now the innovation brings a significant innovation into that foursome combination, which is actually the green laser. So I would like to ask you what that means for coMra therapy. What is that innovation all about? Why you decided about the green laser, and basically what we can expect as users.
Thank you, Michail. The laser really is about the healing message or the intent that you want to convey. So in the coMra effect, the laser and the 3-color LEDs, the magnetic field and the ultrasound are all combined coherently, but they are combined coherently not as conventional science would see them, but as in esoteric science. So in other words, they are coherent together in that regard, and that produces a particular intent or message, or healing message, if you like, which is conveyed when you interact with the coMra device. So previously, we had a message based on the Pro 905, before that the Delta, of course, and then also on 980 as well. So, and that's 980 nanometers. That's the laser wavelength. So okay. 905 nanometers, 980 nanometers, and then the green is 520 nanometers. So changing that actually changes the vibrational message, which is conveyed by that coherent principle. So the message of the coMra effect changes. So 905 nanometers is a message of challenge. So in other words, it is an intent for self-learning. It is an intent to need to understand why that sense of disease is inside, and what you need to do in order to be able to heal yourself, essentially. So 905 will bring about a vibration of challenging you to go deeper inside of yourself, to learn those things that you need to do, which is actually part of your healing process. Mm-hmm. The 980 message is about warmth. So in other words, warm, and by warmth here, I'm referring to something deeper than just the sensation of warmth that we would experience physically. So, for example, the true vibration of warmth is a sense of well-being. So we feel warmth internally when we have a sense of well-being in our system. And a sense of well-being comes from a sense of balance at a mental, emotional, and a physical level, and of course also a spiritual level. So when those things are in balance with each other, which we all experience at times, then we experience a sense of warmth, which is a sense of well-being. And the 980 nanometer laser encourages that message of warmth. So in other words, for the inner being to strive for a sense of warmth and balance internally, which of course is also very important to the healing process. And we had those two messages and intents for a while, and then some experimentation was done on other messages, because the etheric spectrum is vast. There are many different types of vibrational messages that can be generated, which of course are helpful for our healing process. And one of those, particularly in this modern age, is peace, harmony, and balance. So, in other words, that inner quiet, that inner rest. It's so easy in the modern world where everything goes so quickly. We're always having to catch up mentally and emotionally with the things that we're doing, and that creates a lot of, if you like, internal noise. So it's so then easy when we become busy to focus on the outside, all the doings in the outer world, and that imbalance quickly becomes an issue inside, based on our thoughts and the emotional responses to those things. And we needed a vibrational message for the new device, for the coMra Palm Green, which is about peace and harmony, and that leading ultimately again to a sense of inner balance, but by a different vibration, and it's a much more gentle vibration. So in other words, it's a vibration that will encourage there being a sense of calmness. Experimenting it in the early days myself, it's very good, for example, when you've had a very busy, focused day. I mean, my work is in science, and esoteric science is quite intense and quite focused. So often by the end of the day, I'm at a stage where I want to calm down, I want to relax, but not just go to sleep. I want to be able to enjoy just the other things in life, which are all about being balanced, taking my time, and the green. We found that the green laser was very good for this. So it brought forth that message, and then as we started to research more and more, we developed treatment programs. And look at how that all went together. It was very clear that we were calling forth a different message from the etheric spectrum. When I refer to the etheric spectrum, I'm talking about esoteric science. So the coMra effect has its origin in esoteric science, of course, which goes beyond just the form side of life, but of course also materializes into the physical world. So it also has a correspondence with conventional science as well. Any coMra device, in the end of the day, it is engineering. So we are building a technology which is engineered, and that follows accurately the principles of conventional science. But underlying that, it also has a coherent link to esoteric science as well. And that's what makes coMra therapy so unique. It's one of the, I think probably one of the most advanced healing technologies, because in effect you are joining together, you are bridging science and esoteric science in a way that hasn't really been explored or that well understood in the past.
Okay, Adrian, because I'm assuming that there will be people watching who are not that much versed and open into the esoteric science, and they don't know what that means. And the general understanding of esoteric is something which is kind of some magic hidden. We don't know what it is.
Indeed.
And a lot of people will say even it's some kind of just invented things, something unreal.
Often it's expressed as pseudoscience.
Yeah, can you please exactly. Can you please explain for those kind of listeners, and even for all of us that are listening and will be watching, what is esoteric science? I mean, you touched on that just now, but if you can go a little bit deeper and say it with layman words so that everyone can understand.
Sure. Well, the main difference, actually, if we I mean, obviously there is a lot of detail But if we take away the detail and look at the most central thing, the difference between esoteric science and conventional science is that esoteric science includes your feeling. So it includes how you feel. And by that I mean I'm not talking about emotions. I'm talking about feeling as in terms of direct irrational knowledge. So our feeling, for example, is our connection to everything which is underlying the form side of life. So it is what connects us to that spiritual side of life or that inner side of life, which is hidden, or normally in day to day is hidden from us, and it's truly vast. So esoteric science is in effect an exploration of the great spiritual and physical universes, where conventional science is an exploration of only the physical universe. And there is much overlap in that regard because they both have that, but in conventional science, feelings are not included in the process. And what's most important there is that we generally don't include the experimenter or the person in the process.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. You wanted to finish your sentence?
Yes, and in that regard, you see, for conventional science, it would be considered to be objective when our feelings and our perception are not taken into account. In esoteric science, it's very important for both our feelings and our perception to be taken into account. So, in other words, it's a fully experiential science, as opposed to just based on the form.
Okay, because you said a important word, which was actually hidden science, esoteric, and that's how I understand as well, like esoteric knowledge. It is hidden knowledge, and then there is like obvious knowledge which is already been uncovered, and that's how I understand as well. Esoteric science works with something which is yet not been uncovered. We have a feeling, and intuitively we know that there is something, so we go into exploring that thing. We as well admit and assume that there could be certain knowledge that we are going after. We are not yet sure what it is, but we allow ourselves to explore. And once this actually starts to take some kind of a material form by uncovering it through our experiments, it starts to come more into the conventional science, which you said it works with the physical world, let's say. So that's kind of the connection, how I myself see it, right?
Yes, indeed. And you also alluded to a very important process there, is that essentially much of the esoteric science, or what we call the etheric spectrum, lies in the unknown. So you were talking about the process of including the unknown into the known. Now, if the unknown, of course, is only physical, and of course there is unknown in terms of the physical, then what we end up including into that is a much smaller representation of what's possible. So, if you look at, say, conventional science, there you talk about the electromagnetic spectrum. So when we talk about how coMra works, the radiances are all represented on the electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic spectrum is quite well understood, in actual fact, very well understood from science's point of view. And that's why you would say that those radiances are not coherent, because they operate in different areas of the electromagnetic spectrum. But from that then taken to esoteric science, we talk about the etheric spectrum, of which the electromagnetic spectrum is a small part in the 10th physical world. So now we're talking about a much larger spectrum, and that's made up of vibrational qualities. So vibrations, for example, like fluidity and humility and creativity. So these are now, rather than simply parameters like wavelengths, powers, and modulation rates, we're also now talking about something which involves feeling and experience. So perception and feeling are involved in a vibrational quality. So, for example, we have an experience of what it means to be humble or not. We have an experience of what it means to be fluid or not. That's because that's experiential knowledge, which applies at all levels. And that also then applies to what is going on etherically with the radiances in the coMra technology. So they have their reflection in the etheric spectrum, and what we learned with coMra is how to combine those coherently. What we didn't know before coMra existed was actually how to combine those radiances coherently.
Okay.
If you don't have that knowledge or you haven't discovered it, then it would be very difficult to synthesize a message which would then become coMra. So that's what we originally learned is how to synthesize those radiances in the etheric spectrum. And then that really led to the whole what is now called the coMra effect, which of course we now know in a much more details many years later. So, and to bring it all back to where you started with the question, is the unknown is vast in the etheric spectrum. So there is so much unknown or new knowledge that can be incorporated into the known as a result of us exploring ourselves that way. So, and using this kind of device, working with coMra technology, we are encouraging our own learning to, in effect, learn things that we didn't know before, the unknown, and incorporate those into our being. And that means that our awareness grows. And as our awareness grows, then we are much more capable in terms of what we can do, and also that we can rebalance ourselves. We are more in command of our emotions, more in command of our thoughts, and all of that leads to a better sense of balance, which ultimately leads to a better sense of healing. And the green palm is the next step in that, because after all, I mean, so many of us would like inner peace. We talk so often about being calm, inner peace, especially in a turbulent and chaotic world, as it is so much at the moment. Achieving some kind of inner balance, inner peace is very, very important. And the coMra Palm Green is very much orientated towards helping us to establish that inner sense of peace.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's actually where my question, next question leads to. You've been you were talking about as well, like working with the web of life. You didn't say it this way, but basically uncovering, pulling out of the web of life what is the current need for introducing, let's say, a novelty in the coMra therapy range in order to serve some greater purpose than just only doing a business. Basically, I'm doing a new device. All right, I do some research. I see where the market needs. I do the device and I sell it. And everything is focused very much on just doing business, let's say, and based on some market needs. But you just mentioned it, and I see the connection there. The world now is in a very turbulent times, right? It seems like we are, I hope, not on the verge, but it is there. There are a lot of talks about World War III, and all people, all countries, European Union, States, Russia, China, everyone is banging with arms now, and basically it's turbulent times, and there is a lot of stress. So obviously, I cannot overlook the time when coMra Green is being introduced now to the world. So am I right to assume that need was brought to you through working with the principles of esoteric science, that it means there was an intuition leading towards the need for a green laser or for a device which will bring that principle of harmony and peace? And then what was the process after? How did you actually get to the green laser? Why it is not, I don't know, other frequency, for example. It could be a blue laser, it could be a violet laser, and I'm more referring to the frequency as such, because you mentioned as well what the frequency as such represents. Um, what was the way that led you to specifically green laser?
Okay. The Really, at the end of the day, again, it has to come back to feeling.
Yes.
So how you referred to it very well in the said, we coMra in itself is not a and the way RLT approach it is not a conventional business. So in other words, we are not just looking to make devices and market and sell them. Of course, that is part of our commercial business, but it is also a journey that we are all undertaking in terms of growing our own awareness, learning through our challenges, growing our own awareness, and as a hence working more and more together as a group, using that group intent. And as that group intent grows and that awareness grows, so then we actually call forth new innovation. And when you mentioned the web of life earlier, I like to draw. You mentioned so many good principles in there that if I like to draw them, some of them together, we are all connected through the web of life. The web of life is a system of relationships. The etheric spectrum is only another, more scientific way of saying the web of life. So, and the web of life is vibrational, it's experiential, it is dynamic, it changes from moment to moment, and it connects all of us, irrespective whether we know it or not, or we want it, or we embrace it or don't. We are all connected in the web of life as one living being in that regard. And in that way, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions all impact on the web, and as a result, we all impact on each other. So the thoughts and emotions that we inside of ourselves, we are connected to the web of life. Those affect, they ripple into the web of life as vibrational forms. We pick them up, other people pick them up, and because of this, because there's that degree of interconnection, the it's really, really important. The Coming back to what we are putting out, are we putting out? Are we being inclusive? Are we trying to grow our awareness? Are we intelligently cooperating with the people around us? Those puts a vibration out there of inclusiveness, a vibration of unity, of working together, of growing a group. All of those kinds of very life supportive. Or we can go down the other route. We can, just consider ourselves. We can get angry and blaming of the world around us, or we might be very afraid of what's happening, which again, these are all strong emotions that can trigger off very strong thought forms. Then, we want to protect ourselves from people, or we want to fight other people. And what we are really putting out there into the world through our emotions and our thought patterns are separative things. And then and other people pick up on them, of course, in exactly the same way. So if it's going to be life supportive, which is mean growing in life, because after all, supporting life means growing awareness, expanding, growing, learning, then it's very important the kind of vibrations that we use in coMra therapy. I mean, that's why we called forth those vibrations in the first place. I mean, the first was challenge, because we needed to overcome the challenges as a group in order to be able to materialize coMra onto the physical plane, based on the vision and the insight that we had to begin with. Then, of course, there was 980 came along, because there was also that needing to grow in a well-being, healing, and everything. And now, in a way, we have naturally. I mean, we talk internally in RLT about being on like a new cycle. And very much so. That brought things like coMra Pro and the Palm second generation. Also, it brought the green, so a whole new vibration. And that really was a result of us discovering that as a group, finding out that we needed to peace and harmony, particularly in the backdrop of what is happening in the world. I mean, every drop of unity that we can put into the bucket through our own actions and through our own thoughts and emotions is a positive thing. So in a way, it's our way of helping to rebalance, doing our piece of work to help balance humanity's level of awareness and to raise that awareness to a more inclusive approach. And that's really how the green vibration came about, because as things become more turbulent, we experience that turbulence through the web of life. So if we are going to continue to be able to assist by doing life support, building life supported devices and technology that will support people, we in ourselves had to find that sense of peace and harmony. So in other words, to calm our own emotions down. And this is where you see esoteric science never excludes the experience. It never excludes the individuals. So they are always part of the process. So whatever is going on inside of ourselves is reflective of what is also happening on the outside. So in a way, we needed to balance that process by bringing forth coMra Palm Green, which is peace and harmony. So it was really the next step in the evolution of our awareness of how we are growing, learning, healing, and bringing the benefits of those things to as we can to as many people in humanity that want to avail themselves of it. So it's our small drop in the bucket. Alongside everybody else's, which is gradually growing a more inclusive awareness. So it was a natural step for us to really, and when you say, why is it green? That's also very important, because I mean, green is, this is a kind of very difficult question to answer in just a few sentences, but green, naturally, the vibrational mechanics in the etheric spectrum of green are that literally vibrational harmony and peace. So they have that, that we often wonder why, plants are green, for example. I mean, technically in science, we know that, that's because of the chemical makeup in the leaves and everything. But there is a reason that they're grown green, because of it also reflects that harmony and balance in nature. Nature is all about maintaining a dynamic balance. And vibrations, colors represent particular vibrations. And like, for example, if we were to use, you mentioned ultraviolet or violet laser, which in actual fact we have done some of that research, and that will no doubt probably come as a future innovation, but it's very energizing. So, for example, might say, if you really needed to get up in the morning and get going, you've got a busy day ahead, actually doing a treatment with using an ultraviolet laser actually could be very beneficial in that regard. So it very much depends on the need of the moment and what you feel you need in order to undertake the challenges and the balance of your day. So for me, for example, like I gave the example right at the beginning, is with all the technological work and the esoteric science that I do, I feel like it's very welcome to calm down into peace and harmony in the evening, and I enjoy my evenings so much better once I've taken that step. So using the green palm as the natural part of my day then actually helps me transition from one part of the day to the other. So again, how we discover these things, well, it's a combination of intuition, insight, and also following our feelings. As we said before, feeling is about direct knowledge. So at the end of the day, that is equivalent to saying we are being guided. You might say guided by who? That again is a very big topic to discuss, but at the end of the day, we have to say that we are guided in taking steps by those higher forces, or higher awareness, which is helping this planet to move forward, and humanity to raise their awareness and steps forward from there. So there was a lot in your question, and
Very nice.
joining those things together, that would be for me how it works.
Very nice. To whom would you recommend the green laser?
I would
I mean,
recommend
to call it correctly, to whom would you recommend the coMra Palm Green?
the common palm green. I feel is universal for anybody that wants to bring a greater sense of peace and harmony into their life. So anybody that is feels under tension or stress, or they have a very busy day, or struggling to take a pause, or maybe have a lot of turmoil or conflict going on in their life, the common palm green is going to benefit there, because you are deliberately, by picking up common palm and using it, you are actually setting your intent in interacting with a much bigger vibration in life, which is about peace and harmony. And since we have to take the first step, we always have to take the first step with something that we want in life. If we want peace and harmony, then the very best assistance in that really is to take that action and pick up a common palm green, and start using it for treatments. Alongside other things, going for a walk alongside a river, enjoying some quiet time alone, listening to music or reading a book. All of these things are an active step in peace and harmony. And what's the advantage of the common palm green, of course, is its vibrational message is specifically for that. So sometimes it's not always practical to go out for a walk, or something like that. You may be in the middle of an busy office or something like that. To take a 5-minute break and to use common palm green in a break, you naturally introduce yourself to that peace and harmony and vibration. So
Amazing,
that's
amazing. I've experienced myself the coMra Palm Green, one of the prototypes, so I can confirm that actually it works wonders for me in terms of calming down the organism, and I've been using it especially before going to sleep in the bed. Um, it actually soothes down the nervous system, and it leads you very gently into falling asleep. So I really loved it. I'm looking forward to actually use as well the actual new coMra Palm Green, which was introduced to the market. And I would also like to invite all of the viewers and listeners to listen to the other talk that we recorded with Arjan, who is a coMra therapy researcher, who actually as well introduces the other aspect of coMra Palm Green, which is how coMra Palm Green works with the emotional disturbances in the organism, and he explains very well the entire process of how emotions are connected to diseases, how anger, for example, is connected to inflammation and so on, and what the role of the coMra Palm Green is in that process to help with transmuting emotions and eventually keeping us healthy. So this actually adds to what you just shared from your point of view and from the esoterical science point of view. And I would definitely recommend to everyone to listen to that talk as well, just to get the complete picture. Thank you, Adrian. This was lovely. Thank you very much for introducing all this knowledge and insights. I'm happy that all viewers and listeners can watch that as well, and they can get a deeper insight into the coMra Palm Green. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next innovation. I'm really curious what this will be.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to share all about the coMra Palm Green, and let's see what comes next.
Absolutely. Looking forward. Have a nice
Thank
day
you.
and thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.